CSL Limited has reportedly agreed to a collaboration and license agreement with Arcturus Therapeutics Holdings to gain access to its late-stage, next-generation, self-amplifying mRNA vaccine technology. Under the terms of this agreement, the company will be eligible for more than $4.3 billion US in milestone payments, as well as double-digit royalties. Arcturus has been working on a COVID-19 vaccine since 2020, which was safe and effective in a large-scale clinical trial in April. Keep watching. First, let's get into the details. Arcturus Therapeutics, based in San Diego, has entered into a strategic partnership and licensing agreement with CSL Seqirus. Under the deal, Arcturus will grant CSL a license to its mRNA technology, lunar lipid-mediated delivery, and star self-amplifying mRNA technology in exchange for assistance in developing and commercializing vaccines. The two companies will collaborate on vaccine development for COVID-19, influenza, pandemic preparedness, and some other common respiratory infectious diseases. Arcturus is currently working on next-generation mRNA vaccines. It has developed a COVID-19 vaccine candidate and recently reported results from a large Phase 3 study, meeting its primary and secondary endpoints of infection and severe disease prevention. And with CSL on board, their projects are only expected to grow. The deal comes after a busy year for CSL, which included an $11.7 billion takeover of Swiss pharma Vifor earlier in 2022, as well as smaller deals with Unicure for hemophilia gene therapy and Translational Sciences for a clot-busting drug with potential as a stroke and pulmonary embolism therapy. Next, wait up. They'll be making how much money? Arcturus will receive $200 million up front and will be eligible for over $1.3 billion over time as they reach development and commercial milestones. Additionally, they will also receive a 40% net profit share for COVID-19 vaccine products and double-digit royalties for products made for other respiratory diseases. The deal also had a huge impact on the company's stock, with Arcturus reporting a 31% rise in share prices after the collaboration. Cantor Fitzgerald increased its price target for Arcturus stock from $39 to $44 while maintaining its overweight rating. On the other hand, Barclays increased its price target to $25 from $16 per share while upgrading its rating to equal weight from underweight. Following up, what are the goals of this deal? If you're unfamiliar with CSL, they're a huge player in the pharma market. Their work spans from vaccine research and development to manufacturing and global commercialization. They have recently been looking into making strategic investments in both the development of the company's existing platforms and in longer-term, high-opportunity development activities, which is exactly what their partnership with Arcturus provides. Under this deal, the company aims to combine its established global vaccine commercial and manufacturing infrastructure with Arcturus's manufacturing capabilities and star self-amplifying mRNA vaccine and lunar delivery platform technologies, as well as its mRNA design and modification expertise. According to CSL Seqirus General Manager Steve Marlowe, this agreement is a step toward the company's long-term goal of advancing public health by developing and commercializing better vaccines for influenza and multi-pathogen pandemic preparedness. It's also worth noting that CSL Seqirus produces flu vaccines across its global manufacturing network, which includes facilities in the United States, the United Kingdom, and Australia. They are also expanding their R&D footprint by investing in a new facility in Waltham, Massachusetts, which will support the company's ever-growing portfolio. This facility will serve as a research and development center for current and future vaccines, with a focus on the mRNA technology platform, as well as collaborations with industry stakeholders and academia. Moving on, what makes Arcturus so special? Okay, with all this buzz surrounding this Arcturus technology, it better be amazing. Well, it is. Lunar is a patented lipid-mediated nucleic acid delivery system. It makes use of the company's library of over 250 proprietary lipids, which can be formulated to serve as vectors for messenger RNA vaccines. As for their STAR technology platform, it combines self-amplifying mRNA and lunar to provide a single solution for protein production in the body. The ARCT-154 lunar COVID-19 vaccine is currently being evaluated in Vietnam and has supported Arcturus's COVID-19 vaccines, which are currently in Phase 3 of trials. The sa-mRNA design developed by Arcturus would allow for lower vaccine doses than the mRNA vaccines developed by Moderna, Pfizer, and BioNTech. Arcturus's approach also makes use of a freeze-drying process, which allows vaccines to be stored at room temperature before being rehydrated. This would make vaccine transport and cold chain storage significantly easier and more convenient than current mRNA vaccines. On August 31st, Arcturus announced that the U.S. Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority had granted it up to $63.2 million in funds to develop a sa-mRNA vaccine for rapid pandemic influenza response. The funds will support preclinical, manufacturing, and non-clinical safety studies, as well as development and regulatory support for more than 3 years through Phase 1 clinical trials. Finally, what this means for everyone else. It's pretty clear that Arcturus is pretty ahead of the curve when it comes to technology, and by joining forces with CLS, they'll be able to make up for what they lacked in development and commercialization. This deal is likely to put the rest of the pharma firms on notice, and for good reason. Arcturus's sa-mRNA technology is no joke. They could capture the whole market at the back of this tech. mRNA's rise in prominence during the pandemic has led to a number of alliances and takeovers between companies involved in the area and big vaccine developers. Sanofi, for example, paid $3.2 billion for Translate Bio last year and $470 million for Tidal Therapeutics. Meanwhile, Pfizer has expanded its massively successful collaboration with BioNTech. GSK has partnered with CureVac, AstraZeneca has teamed up with VaxEquity, and Merck & Co. paid $150 million up front in a deal valued at up to $3.5 billion. Looking at how quickly these companies are jumping on the mRNA train, we wouldn't be surprised if this relatively new tech ends up becoming the future of vaccines. Now, let's address why the US doesn't have a nasal vaccine for COVID-19. First, we need to understand why this is the case. Though nasal and oral vaccines are being researched in the United States, none are on the verge of being commercialized. This is mostly because Congress hasn't approved additional funding for research and development, and big pharmaceutical companies aren't investing in next-generation vaccines because they don't see a lot of profit potential in them. Besides that, developing an effective nasal vaccine could be really tricky, as AstraZeneca executives discovered when they announced disappointing results from a nasal vaccine trial in October. The company converted its injected COVID-19 vaccine into a nasal mucosal version, but early trials revealed weak antibody responses in the nasal mucosa, where the vaccine was expected to have the greatest effect. They also discovered lower immune responses in the rest of the body as compared to injected vaccines. Scientists at AstraZeneca speculate that a significant portion of the vaccine, which delivers the SARS-CoV-2 genes using a disabled virus, may have escaped the lungs and wound up in the digestive tract, where it was destroyed before it had a chance to fully activate the immune system. All of this only proves the narrative of how unpredictable vaccine development can be. A lot of people think that there's no reason to spend time and money on developing new COVID-19 vaccines, since the old ones seem to be working just fine. Couple all this up, and you'll start to see why the US government has so far favored existing proven vaccines based on mRNA technology rather than heading in a completely new direction. Coming up, what's the difference between nasal and injected vaccines? Now, just because there are some drawbacks to the nasal vaccine, that doesn't mean that scientists are working on them for nothing. You see, COVID-19 is a respiratory virus that preferentially infects respiratory tract cells. A vaccine that works through mucosal tissues in the nose, mouth, and lungs may be more effective than one that is injected into the arm and must travel throughout the body's circulatory system to do its job. The immune response elicited by cells in the mucosal passages of the nose, mouth, and airways differs from one that's produced by a vaccine administered intramuscularly. Nasal vaccines produce a type of antibody called IgA, which injected vaccines do not produce as much of. Now, this doesn't mean that one is better than the other, but the two antibodies serve different purposes. IgA antibodies are more localized and produced in the mucus layer of the body in areas where viruses are most likely to infiltrate, whereas IgG antibodies work more systemically. There may be some benefits to generating a more localized IgA-heavy response, particularly at this stage of the pandemic when preventing people from becoming infected has become more important. Finally, do nasal vaccines actually work? It won't be clear if these vaccines will reduce infections until more people take them. Scientists have little experience with mucosal vaccines, and only a few of them have been approved in the past. This makes it difficult for health officials to evaluate the safety of the vaccines and determine whether they provide additional protection above existing vaccines. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think this is the right move for CSL? And will Americans ever get their hands on a nasal COVID-19 vaccine? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.